Hi guys, today I made what I'm calling a quiche caprese. So all the ingredients of a caprese salad, tomato, basil, mozzarella in a nice rich savoury custard surrounded by a short crust pastry case. And it was really beautiful. Those flavours are a marriage made in heaven anyway, so anything you put them into I think is going to turn out really well. Start off by making the pastry. I've got 175 grams of plain flour in my food processor and I'm going to add 75 grams of chilled butter cubed. Add a little pinch of sea salt flakes. Now blitz for just a little while until the flour looks a little bit like breadcrumbs. Of course you can save on the wash up here by just squeezing the flour and butter between your fingers. Now add the flour and butter to a large mixing bowl and add in one egg. Mix it all together with a fork first before you bring it all together with your hands. This could take up to a few minutes, but after a while you should be left with one solid piece of dough. So just flatten it out into a fat disc shape and wrap it in cling film and then put it into the fridge for half an hour to firm up. Half an hour later, lightly flour your work surface, then turn out your disc of dough and roll it out so that it's about 1/8 of an inch thick, but pretty thin. I'm using a 9-inch or 23cm sandwich tin for this quiche, and it's got a loose bottom as well, so I like to take the bottom and slide it under the pastry when it's a little bit dry and crumbly like it is today. I find that you can then transfer it to the tin very easily without it breaking or cracking. Though if it does break or crack, it's no big deal. You can just piece all those cracks together with leftover pastry. Now cover it with a sheet of tin foil and transfer it to the fridge to chill for another half an hour. Half an hour later, take it out, fill it with baking beads or dry rice or beans will do too, and bake it at 180 degrees Celsius for about 20 minutes. Then take it out and carefully remove the tin foil with the baking beads and brush the inside of the pastry with a beaten egg and return to the oven for another 7 minutes. Now take it out and let it cool completely while you get on with your filling. To do this, add 200 millilitres of cream to a jug, followed by 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk. Now whisk it all together until it's all nice and combined but not aerated. You don't want to get any air in here because it'll rise too much in the oven. And set aside. Now slice up your tomatoes. A mix of colour and variety is good, and they're normally better when you get them on the vine like this. I have a couple of sheets of paper towel here to drain the tomatoes because we don't want all that water going into the filling. I think 3 of these big tomatoes are enough, and I'm going to slice them on the horizontal into quite thick slices. Now transfer them over to the paper towel so that they can drain. I'm also going to use a few of these cherry tomatoes. I have 9 here because they have a different flavour, they're much sweeter, and also they're smaller so they can fill in any of the gaps left between the bigger slices. Because these are so small, I'm only going to halve them. I'm going to slice them across the horizontal again because I just think that they look a bit prettier that way. I should say as well that if you're slicing tomatoes, you need to use a serrated knife. Now pile all of those onto the paper towels as well to drain too. You can cover them with another paper towel as well because all that moisture that you take out will just make the custard really watery. Now take 1 ball of buffalo mozzarella and slice it about as thick as you sliced the big tomatoes. Try to get buffalo mozzarella if you can. It's way stronger tasting than cow's milk, but it's got a similar texture, so if you can only find cow's milk mozzarella, that's fine. Now just set that aside and take a good bunch of fresh basil. Take off all the leaves and then just really coarsely give them a chop up or a shred up. It doesn't really matter at all. In fact, I think the coarser the better. Now go back to your cooled pastry case and start assembling. Start off with some good quality pesto and add a few tablespoons to the pastry and spread it out. It doesn't have to be so evenly spread out at all, but just try to imagine that every mouthful of this quiche will get a little bit of pesto in it. Now fill it up with your tomato slices. I've started with the big tomatoes. Scatter over your shredded basil leaves. Now anywhere where there's room, add those halved cherry tomatoes. Now this is optional, but here I added about a tablespoon of capers. These are really salty and briny and not everyone likes them at all. So if you want to leave them out, do, but I would instead give it a little pinch of sea salt flakes. Now pour over that savoury custard from earlier. Do this slowly so that it all fills up and there are no air pockets left in there or anything like that. Now top it off by adding that sliced mozzarella and then put it back into the oven for another 35 minutes. While you're waiting, why not check out my website, rookiecook.org, for loads more recipes and piles of baking recipes too. So after 35 minutes, take it out and it should be beautiful and bubbling and really, really tasty. You need to let it cool first though, so you can take it out of the tin, and also these are a lot nicer when they're slightly warm or at room temperature than when they're really, really hot. So once it's been left to cool sufficiently, go ahead and slice into it and enjoy. This really is so worth doing, and I think you all should give it a go. Thanks a million for watching, guys. I really hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button below and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, and check me out on social media. You'll find all the links to my accounts in the description below, as well as the link to my blog where you'll find the full recipe in a lot more detail at www.rookiecook.org.